Welcome to the Criminal Imagination, where we peel back the velvet curtain on crime fiction, its shadows, its secrets, and its startling truths. Today, we ask a question that's haunted literary circles for decades. Can crime fiction ever be taken seriously? Or is it doomed to remain a guilty pleasure, a literary back alley where serious minds shouldn't linger? On the surface, it's a simple question, and the answer seems obvious. Of course, crime fiction can be serious. It deals with guilt and justice, the structure of society, even the question of what it means to know the truth. It has produced masters of language, stylists as sharp as Chandler, as subtle as Highsmith. But the question hides a deeper one. Who decides what counts as serious? This is a question of aesthetic philosophy, of how we define literary value, and why certain genres are excluded from it. Despite its cultural power, crime fiction is still reviewed on a separate page, in a different tone. It's considered not literature but genre. And so, we must ask, is this separation philosophical or merely social? Even the most refined novelists, when they write crime, often use pseudonyms, not to hide but to signal a shift. Like wearing casual clothes to a formal party, it's a gesture, a kind of theatrical humility. Here we glimpse a performative contradiction. The writer knows the work is good, but they also know the rules of the literary world. This reflects what philosophers call a linguistic game, a social code, a tacit agreement about what words, style, and genres mean in different contexts. Crime fiction then is not lesser, it's just coded differently. In 1929, Marjorie Nicholson observed that many professors, lovers of Joyce and Eliot, were addicted to detective stories. Why? She concluded that crime fiction was an escape not from reality but from modernist literature. While modernism embraced chaos, fragmentation, and the breakdown of meaning, crime fiction restored reason, clarity, and closure. For her, it was a kind of existential relief, a structured narrative in a world where structure was falling apart. But here is the irony. She defended crime fiction while looking down on it. She called it intellectual relaxation, like a crossword puzzle. This is philosophical paternalism, a subtle form of aesthetic hierarchy. Let's go ahead to the 1980s. The philosophers of language and culture, structuralist and post-structuralist, had a different view. To them, all culture is symbolic, and low versus high is an illusion. Stefano Tani argued that crime fiction is just one of many discourses, no better or worse than Proust or Plato, only different. This is a structuralist lens. Every cultural object, whether it's a detective novel or a philosophical treatise, belongs to a larger network of science. Meaning is relational. There is no literary essence, only context. Through this lens, crime fiction isn't guilty of being unserious. It's only guilty of being outside the dominant structure of taste. Then came the purloined letter, not the story, but the philosophical battle it triggered. Jacques Lacan, a psychoanalyst, said the content of Poe's letter didn't matter. It was only a signifier. Its meaning always differed. Derrida responded, saying Lacan's theory caused the absence of meaning he claimed to find. Barbara Johnson chimed in. The letter was a symbol of power, a substitute for the fallows. None of them really cared who stole the letter. For them, the crime was not the plot, but the language itself. This wasn't about Poe, it was about how meaning shifts, how identity is constructed, and how power moves through worlds. In their hands, crime fiction became philosophy, not because of what it said, but because it allowed them to say what they wanted. And so, we return to the question, can crime fiction be serious? Yes, because seriousness isn't about academic footnotes or literary prizes. It's about asking serious questions. What is justice? What do we owe to others? Can we know the truth or only chase it? Crime fiction wrestles with these questions in every paragraph. It puts morality under the microscope. It stages a world in which someone must always decide what is right and someone else pays the price. This is not escapism. That is philosophy in disguise. So now it's your turn to decide. Is crime fiction a second class citizen of literature, or is it a genre that understands us best because it never pretends that life is tidy? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this investigation, like, share, and subscribe because the next mystery is always around the corner. Until next time, remember what Nietzsche said: whoever fights monsters should see to that it does not become a monster. This is the criminal imagination.